right, good afternoon, Marlins fans. Welcome to another episode of the Miami Marlins Prospects Pod. This is a special episode, ladies and gentlemen, because Joe and I have the pleasure today of talking to, as you could see, well, he's over here, Nasim Nunez, the shortstop for the Pensacola Blue Wahoos, one of the top prospects in the Marlins organization. My name is David Fernandez. I'm joined, as always, by Joe Frisaro. And again, we've got Nasim Nunez with us here today to talk a little bit of baseball. And we're really excited to have you, Nasim. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit and talk with us. Welcome.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Joe, you've got a long history with this young man, this talented baseball player, exciting, fun guy to watch on the field. Tell us a little bit about the background that you guys have. You've met a while back, right?
Yeah, actually, before Nasim was actually drafted by the Marlins, I was still at MLB.com, hadn't taken the early retirement yet. We're going back to October of 2018, and Nasim was part of the at the Perfect Game event, the Wood Bat Championships in Jupiter, Florida, on where his team is now, on those backfields. He was playing for the Breakthrough Series team, and I actually interviewed him back then. And then Marlins, of course, drafted him in the second round in 2019, shortstop out of Collins Hill High School in Swanee, Georgia. Real exciting young player. We'll get into the stats, but when I get players on, and I really like for these podcasts when I get players on to really talk the conversation and the story of these players as well. And Nasim, let's talk a little bit about that Perfect Game event, because through the years, I saw Will Banfield, your teammate now. The year before, I believe you were there on those backfields. A year ago, I saw Drew Jones, Tamar Johnson, Jackson Holliday were on those same fields. I believe the year before that, Bobby Witt Jr. was among the players there. So just how that event, and just in your mind, how you were playing, in that series. I think one of your coaches too was Flash Gordon, Tom Gordon, D. Strange Gordon's dad. It was one of your coaches there. Just about that event, and then obviously being drafted by the Marlins and playing. And you ever think about that when you're on those backfields?
It was weird the first time I realized where I was, because when Jupiter and everything was happening at the time, it was like it's just another tournament. I'm just going to play some more baseball. So I wasn't really so consumed into like, well, we're in Jupiter. This is the Marlins and the Cardinals complex. It was just like, this is another baseball field. But then once I got into the FCL, I realized, I was like, these fields look pretty familiar. And then I told my mom, she's like, yeah, boy, that's where you played for the WWBA. And I was like, oh, that's dope. But that tournament is amazing because you get to see the best competition, especially at that young age. It gives you such a variety of players and just coaches and everybody you can learn from and play against. It was one of the most fun tournaments I was part of.
And just talk about, when people I don't think fully realize, non-baseball people, just how much of a fraternity baseball is. And at a young age, because you're a teenager then, and actually a little belated happy birthday. I believe you just turned 22 the other day, right? On the 18th. Yes. So wow, you're getting to be an old man now, 22. But
don't do that. Don't do that.
No, give you birth. But it's like you guys play like the competition. You're playing against. You just heard the list of the players. I said you guys are like in the big leagues. You guys you're coming right out and making impact. But you're playing such great competition at such a young age.
Yeah, it's baseball world is really small. Like all baseball players, I feel like know each other, and it's good that we get to play each other at such a young age because we grow up together, and we'll end up. Hopefully, everybody ends up becoming a major leaguer, and we all get to play each other. And it's just like, oh, I remember playing them when I was younger, so that's why I always play every game. Like the game doesn't change, the game does not change. You just got to go out there and have fun, and continue to play the game with joy.
Jump in, David.
Yeah, so Nasim, again, thank you for joining us. And playing the game with joy, you play it at such a high level and with such great tempo and excitement. And particularly, one of the best things to watch is the way that you play defense and your skill on, in that specific area of the game. Is there, and then obviously, we've heard and seen so much of your talent on the base pass, and then obviously as a hitter. Is there an aspect to the game of those three aspects, maybe, defense, base running, hitting? Is there something that maybe you prefer to do? Is there something that stands out for you as maybe the most exciting or funnest part of playing the game?
I believe each part of the game is fun in its own way, and that's where I take pride in making sure I do what the game asks me to do, and I do it to the best of my ability and have fun while doing it. Because everybody who plays this game knows how hard this game is. This is a hard game, and sometimes you favoritize defense, and sometimes you feel better fielding, and sometimes you just want to get on the bases so you can run. So for me, it's like I don't really have a favorite, but something that's like where I get a lot of wows and is most definitely defense. But I like to go hit because I want to become a better hitter than I want to be a better hitter than a defensive player. That's
Sure.
just kind of how my mental switch so I could get better at hitting. That's kind of how I think about it.
Absolutely. And the development as you as a hitter, I mean, your last 50 games or so at high A Beloit, you were really sort of breaking out at that point, hitting over 300, a 429 on base percentage. You were terrorizing pitchers on the base paths, stolen base after stolen base. I think you had 49 stolen bases at that point, leading the Midwest League. When you're on the base pass like that and you're able to produce that level of excitement and obviously produce for the team. Is there something that you look for, I guess I'm talking specifically about the stolen bases at this point. Is there something that you look for either in the moment or are you planning ahead of time, in order to maybe bring that part of the game, to the field? Like, how are you keying on something in the specific pitchers, or is it more prep, in terms of like the running game?
Okay. So something I've learned this year is really taking what the game gives you. And a lot of times growing up, I would just run, get on
Right.
base and go, take off, get on base and take off. Doesn't matter how fast the pitcher is to the plate, doesn't matter who's behind the plate. But as I get older and I realize that me being on base is beneficial to the team, even if I don't steal, because I'm in the back of the pitcher's head. And the pitchers are most likely going to throw my teammates a lot of fastballs. They're going to be a lot more inconsistent with strikes, their strike command to the plate. So when I get on base, I look for how slow a pitcher is. If a pitcher's paying attention, if he's not paying attention, that'll give me like, okay, we can advance to the next base safely. And then I could do the same thing at the next base just in scoring position.
Yeah, interesting points, Nasim, and it speaks to all players have to kind of know who they are, and a player like you who's more of a speed defensive guy, you're not the power hitter. You have to know your game. Juan Pierre always really knew his game and really worked on that, and also noted he had to work harder than everyone because the power wasn't there. He was always being looked to be replaced by that. But you're an interesting player, and it was interesting. About a month ago, I was speaking to a veteran scout, and they mentioned about you. And they're like, I don't even look at the numbers with this guy. I see a baseball player. I see a player out there who knows he has instincts. He's got defense. He looks like, he can impact the game in a lot of ways. So I'm not going to worry about a specific number or whatever. Just let that kid play and bring it out, and you can impact the game, like you say, either with your glove, with your legs, and with the bat.
Yeah, 100%. And going to the numbers part, what you said, especially in the minor leagues, a great player, he told me, don't worry about the numbers right now because the numbers are so up and down, and it's about the process. It's about going out there and learning who you are and being confident in who you are. Failing or succeeding, you got to be confident in who you are. And that's going to allow you to play the game at the best of your ability. That's going to allow you to affect the game in different ways and just be a ball player. Don't get so consumed in the numbers. And I think that's something I took pride in this year too, not getting consumed in numbers because I saw my numbers in the beginning of the season. And that's something you don't really want to see, you know? So taking the vision and focusing on the bigger picture, which is winning and playing the game the right way, that's really helpful.
I wanted to,
Go
Nasim, I
ahead,
wanted
David.
to key on, sorry, Joe. I wanted to key on something that you said there, talking about the process and the bigger picture. So you were promoted from high A Beloit to double A Pensacola. And obviously going from single A to double A, there's a transition there. Did anything change in your process, or what have you noticed that you maybe have to do differently at the double A level that maybe you didn't necessarily have to do at the single A level?
Mm. The biggest difference is getting readjusted, getting back into the routine because it's a different coaching staff, different teammates. Even though we played with them in spring training and, you know, sometimes like instructional leagues, it's still
Yeah.
a different vibe. So you gotta find find your own routine now. It's double A. It's kind of like you do what you got to do to get ready. Like it's no coaches babysitting you anymore, telling you this is where you need to be, this is what you have to do. It's like now this is all on you. Like go do what you got to do to get ready for the game, and they're not going to be nagging you about it. They're not going to be forcing you to go. It's on you. So that's the biggest thing. But besides that, the game is still the same game.
Yeah. Now, see, you're talk about your defense and how you got it grounded there, and because it's really an aspect of the sport that I think is going to middle infield defense is really going to be magnified, especially if the shift is banned. You know, I think that teams got away and they could say they could go with a little bit less defensively because analytics will just put you in the spot they hit the ball most of the time. But when you have to rely on athleticism, range, quickness, you know, instincts, where did you kind of was it always there? Did you have defensive coaches you worked with growing up? How did it kind of come out that you became the defensive player you are?
Um, I believe that the instincts and the athleticism and all the tools parts that everybody sees was always there. But yes, I had a coach. I had a couple coaches when I was younger. And they know who they are, you know. They really developed me as a player. Like they taught me the fundamentals, doing drills and understanding that being the best defensive player isn't the one who makes all the plays that nobody can make, but the one who makes all the plays. You know what I'm saying? And then
Yeah.
the plays that are hard and the spectacular plays, those come. Those come, but we gotta take care of the routines. We gotta get those outs. We gotta so that those even a thought process that helped me develop as a player. You know, you can have the craziest arm, you could have the most range, but if you can't take care of that routine ball, all that stuff doesn't matter.
I wanna show some of those spectacular plays. We've got a couple of them here because it is an absolute delight to watch you play on the
For
defensive
sure.
side of the ball. I've got a couple here. Let's see them.
He said that was awesome. The 3-2 pitch. Swing, and he hits a grounder to short. On a backhand, it's Nasim Nunez. Jones tumbles over first, but he's out. What a throw by Nunez. Miami's number 18 prospect who continues to flash the leather and a major league arm from shortstop. That was another stunning play.
I think you stole Jones's soul with that one. That was incredible.
Yeah.
And we've got another one here, though. This one might actually top that.
Throws, and Infante yanks a tough one-hopper to short. What a play by Nasim Nunez. A diving stop and an unbelievable throw from an unbelievable angle to second to get Meisner. Throws.
Sorry.
That one, I'm not even gonna lie. I wish they had a better camera view on that one because I don't even know how I caught that one. I want to see it.
Yeah, like you said, I wish there was another angle because like you're moving in one direction, the ball is skipping in another direction, and then all of a sudden it's in your glove and you're delivering the throw. I mean, it's absolutely spectacular.
Those plays they come, you know, those plays come. It's just like if I know some people will be watching this, it's just like an MLB The Show. It's called Slow Time or Showtime, where everything slows down and it just happens. Everything's in slow. That's literally how those feel. Those it's just instincts. You can't teach that. Like if somebody was to ask me how I do it, I say I don't know. It just happens.
Was there somebody that you watched growing up, maybe that you almost like model your game after? Either somebody that you played with, or somebody in the pros that you watched growing up?
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. When I was younger, I watched a lot of Jose Reyes. A
Yeah.
lot of Jose Reyes and Andrelton Simmons.
Okay.
Those were my guys on defense. Those were my guys.
Yeah, I mean, Jose played, with the Marlins for a minute, and he's obviously incredibly talented. The Marlins have a deep sort of history at the shortstop position. I mean, obviously you got guys like Hanley Ramirez, but then beyond that, I mean, from a defensive perspective, Adeiny Echeverria was a brilliant defensive player. I mean, obviously Edgar Renteria going further back, Alex Gonzalez, and then you mentioned Jose Reyes. I mean, just it feels like you fit right in that mold in terms of like defensive capability and know-how, and it's a lot of fun to watch you play defense. That's for sure.
Thank you.
Now, see, I want to talk. You mentioned slowing the game down, and last night, the Marlins playing on the West Coast, so the game starts later. And I got the MLB package. I probably watched like 5 games, going back and forth. I was watching the ninth inning of the Yankees Mets game, and Starling Marte comes to bat. Last out of the game, he draws a walk, but you could just see in his face, it was like any other at bat. It's Yankee Stadium, everyone's going nuts, but he's able to slow the game down. He's fouled off a really ridiculous 98 in the corner, fouled it off because he knew he wasn't going to do anything with it, and works the count till he gets a walk. And that's what the great ones do. And, they have that ability. When did that, or has that come even more for you, the ability to kind of slow the moment down and slow the game down?
Yes, for sure. Slowing the game down is understanding yourself as well. Like for me, I can feel when my heart starts beating. It's like I call it my warrior level. Like for me to be consistent and play the game at a good rate, my warrior level can't be too low and it can't be too high. It has to be right in the middle, like really calm. So for me, I like chewing gum. Gum is like it calms me, and I like the mint flavor because whenever I start getting out of my head or not focused, I always try to taste the mint. And whenever I taste mint, it locks me back in the game.
Okay.
It's weird, but it helps. And it's just breathing, taking a breath and understanding that this is a game that you've been playing or I've been playing. That's what I tell myself for a really long time, almost as long as I've been alive. So every situation should be the same. Every at bat should be the same.
Do the players you always hear it, the players like, okay, put yourself bottom of the ninth, World Series, game on the line. I want the ball hit to me. I want to make that last out. Is that just kind of the mentality when you're on the field? Hit the ball to me, hit the ball to me. Obviously you're not going to get every ball hit to you, but that you want the ball at the biggest moment.
Yeah, for sure. I believe that's ego. Because I've had plenty of times where I've told my parents, I was like, man, I was telling myself like, I'm ready for this ball hit to me. I want it hit to me, and I go make an error. So it's like even when you tell yourself you're ready, sometimes it doesn't happen. So I started changing my mindset to like, okay, let's get this ball hit and let's get this out. Let's get the out. Like whoever is hit to, we're gonna get the out. Like we're gonna get it out. More so than being, I want it to me, because that's like a selfish thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I know in the back of my head, if that ball is hit to me and I say we're going to get the out, the game's over. It's over, So it kind of keeps me more positive on everybody's end. Like I can be there for everybody. It's weird, but I hope you get what I'm trying to say.
No, absolutely. That's why I think, we like to relay that to people, where the mindset of the player, because the game's on the line, and we'll see it as we get towards the playoffs and the games with a lot of high interest, that the margin of error is so little, as you know. It could be, the ball gets stuck in my glove, I didn't turn the double play, we only got one out, and that comes back to bite us. Where if I got it cleanly out of my glove, we get the double play, the inning's over. And then it's a lot of times that'll be 2 outs and the inning would have been over. And, it's like, oh my gosh, so the margin for error is so thin. But, when you talk about instincts, you're a teammate now with someone who I equate like you. He's had injuries and it's set him back. He's been in the big leagues. Jose Devers. I think he is a really talented defensive player and very instinctual as well. How much are you getting to know him and working with him? Because both of you guys could make a pretty darn good middle infield.
Right. Yeah, we were working together a good bit. It's a little hard because the language barrier, but
Yeah.
we communicate. It's a universal language. We use that a lot, and I see he's a great player, and I know he sees that I'm a great player. So it's like we feed off of each other, and if he sees something, he'll let me know, and if I see something, I'll let him know.
Nasim, you were talking about confidence a couple minutes ago, especially how having that confidence to make the defensive play. Is there something from your background that where that confidence comes from? Something that's helped you from your growing up that helped you prepare for professional baseball?
Well, for me, it was always my family. My family always told me that I had to be humble, but on the field, know that I'm better than everybody. And take no prisoners. Just go get it, play the game. But for myself, what helped me when I was younger, I always played with a chip on my shoulder. I always try to prove people wrong because everybody always said I was too little. Just always something, you know what I'm saying? So I always played with that chip on my shoulder. And now that I'm getting older, I have the chip on my shoulder, but it's a little bit less on my shoulder because I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody anymore. All I'm trying to do is be a better version of me every day and show myself that I can be better because everybody's going to have their opinions. Everybody's going to have something to say no matter what I do. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got to stick to one thing.
Yeah, and I guess just to sort of piggyback on that, the idea of getting better, we all want to be better today than we were yesterday, and we want to be even better tomorrow. And obviously you have that mindset, and it's something incredibly valuable to have in any context, really. So I guess the question becomes, what do you sort of want to do next with your game? Like, what is maybe the next step for you from a developmental process? How do you want to get better as the season stretches on this year?
Okay. As the season stretches on, I want to be as consistent as possible, and I want to remain healthy. It's getting to the end of the season, so it's a lot of times where a lot of guys will stop working out. A lot of guys start taking care of themselves, looking forward to that end. I want to run through it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to continue to stay strong, stay healthy, and then stay consistent, and then continue to get those reps in. Continue to gather information from each pitch, from each at bat, from each ground ball, from everything other teams do, from what my teammates do. Gather all that information and go into the offseason strong with some support that I can improve on as well.
See, they often note that high A is a different level, obviously, than low A. And then now the double A is pretty much the springboard to the big leagues. If you accomplish in double A, it's not uncommon to go up to the big leagues. But double A and triple A are completely different. What are you seeing in terms of that? Is it because you might be facing guys who already have been in the big leagues and either sent back or were quickly called up or former big leaguers? What are you noticing at the higher levels, even though it's a pretty small sample still?
The only thing I've really noticed at the higher levels is that guys have they're more secure in who they are. So in high A and low A, you'll see a guy one day and he'll be doing something completely different. You know what I'm saying? And up here, it's like I'll see this guy 3 weeks ago and I'll see him again this week and he's still kind of the same guy. They kind of know who they are. But competition level is still the same. It's baseball, I've seen that stuff. Maybe it's just a little more consistent. Like the guys can command it a little better, or guys that know their swing better and they can repeat their moves over and over. But that's really it. And I believe that's the thing with double A. Once you get to double A, you know who you are, or you have a very good idea of who you are, because we always are growing and learning who we are every day. But it's more consistent than low A and high A.
I think the thing that people look to the most when they look at what you've done so far and your accomplishments, and I'm going to put some of them up here on the screen here for a second. I mean, with high A Beloit, 85 games, 390 on base percentage, 49 stolen bases, as we mentioned, with the Blue Wahoos. 347 on base, only the 17 games, but still impressive on base. You got those 7 stolen bases. And so when people, think about Nasim Nunez, obviously we've talked a lot about the glove and we've talked a little bit about the stolen bases. I've got another clip that I want to show. This one flashes that speed.
0-1. There goes Nunez. Check swing on an off-speed pitch down. Throw down to second is on the money, but not in time. There's the speed of Nunez, and he has what we hope is the first of many stolen bases at the AA level.
And it kind of has been the first of many, right? Because you're continuing to rack those up. And the Marlins have a long history with guys that can steal bags, right? Juan Pierre, obviously, Joe mentioned him earlier. He has the franchise single season record of 65. He did that back in 2003. And then a middle infielder who, was amazing for the Marlins for such a long time, Luis Castillo. He had 62 back in 2000. And then way back at the beginning of the franchise, Chuck Carr, center fielder, he had 58 way back in 1993. This year, John Birdie leads the majors with 30 stolen bases. When you hear numbers like that, and obviously you got 56 at the moment, which is 7th most among all levels, which is obviously incredibly impressive. Is there like a number in your mind that you would love to get to in a single season? Or, are you looking to maybe break some of those records down the line? Is that something that you think about at all? Or what's your feeling in that regard?
Earlier in the season, maybe not earlier, but I'll say maybe last month, I was in Beloit, and the Beloit record was 66. So my goal was to get 66, and I told one of my coaches that I wanted to get 66, and his response was, "You gonna stop at 66?" So after I heard that, I looked at it, I was like, okay. So I guess I don't really have a goal. I just want to go. As many as I could get, whatever the game allows me to get. And I take advantage of that. I'm good with that.
Yeah, and we
I
saw
believe I beat my goal. I surpassed my stolen base record of last year. So at this point, it's just all bonuses because I did better than last year.
Yeah, and you would have beaten that 66 for sure, considering the pace that you're on. But we saw just with your move to Pensacola, you had this incredible game where you got on base 5 times and you set the new single game record for them with 5 runs scored. I think you had 4 stolen bases in that one. It's so exciting to watch you play and how your speed can affect the game. Is there another level to that to you? Like, are you trying to get to another level with your speed and affecting the game? Like, how do you use it as a weapon, I guess?
I say the speed's going to be there. I have to take care of my legs. That's a big part of my game. And what's going to take me to another level is how I use my brain, the certain situations to run, picking up things, tendencies pitchers do, catchers do. I can make the game a lot easier by slowing it down to where I don't even really have to use my speed all the time. I think that's going to for sure take me to another level. Because like I said, I could just go out there and run. I could go run and just most likely more times than not be safe. But I want to be safe all the time. So
Right.
I'm going to use my brain to
Absolutely.
find some ways to get me safe all the time.
Well, then you obviously then are picking up constantly. If you're in the dugout, the guy gets on base, you're looking at his move, either video or so forth. Obviously, times you're hearing all that, catchers and pitchers' time to the plate. How much do you use the resources at your disposal to make it more of a science and make it easier for you to be 100%?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. A lot of times it's funny. My first base coach, he'll have the stopwatch,
Yeah,
and he'll tell me the times. And before he tells them to me, I'm already saying them. Like, I already know the times. Like, I'm gathering that information in my head. I'm understanding what a 1-3 looks like to the plate. I'm understanding what a 1-1, a 1-2 looks like, so that if I don't have a coach who has the times, I have the time in my head. I know what it looks like. And then if I know they're a 1-3 and they end up throwing a 1-1 that pitch and I'm stealing, I can shut it down because I know what it looks like. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just it's your muscle memory, and you're making it second nature. That's how I see it. I mean, it's funny. I've seen so many games where I'll watch and I'll say, oh, that exit velo is like 105 or 103.
Yeah.
You see so many off the bat, because I saw Stanton hit 120. When Stan was here, I'd see that, so I know what that looks like compared to 105 or 106 off the bat. So you could get within very close range by just doing it, and that's, I think, is what you're saying. You see the repetition. What it's not your first stolen base. It's a lot. Which this is a repetition sport, and that's what. Let me quickly ask you, because your class and those in that kind of 1920 were really kind of hurt by the pandemic. Kind of took at bats, kind of hurt development. How did you do all this to keep as much up to speed when your sport was either shut down for a while and as the world was for a while?
Man, honestly, 2020 was messed up, man. It was messed up in so many ways, but 2020 opened my eyes. I had a lot of time to do nothing, and that was the first time I've ever had that. And I was with my family, my friends, just got drafted the year before, so you know how that. You can imagine how that went. Like, it was just a lot of chilling, having fun. But I believe that the people around me, my support system, they made a huge impact on who I am today because of 2020. They asked me, they're like, what do you want to do? Do you want to become a major leaguer, or do you want to just be that guy who got drafted and nothing happened? So I came to realization, it was like, this is a time where I can get my work in and, do what I got to do. I have my fun. I have my fun. But that 2020 put me in a different mindset going into the spring training of 2021. It really did. And I always thank my family and my support system for that, because I could have easily had people tell me, it's nothing's happening. You could do what you want to do. Have fun. This is your time to enjoy your life. But they help put me like, this is the time to go get it.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's like kind of seeing who's a baseball player, who has it in them. And I bring this up, and I mentioned this to a lot of people in the Marlins and people who, I'll say it anyway. 2019, you're on those backfields playing those at noon and field 2, in 100 degrees with 100 humidity, playing noon. And I'd sit there for like 3 days watching you guys, and you and Victor Mesa Jr. And I'm watching you guys every day. And I told people on the Marlins that I was like, you could tell who the baseball players are if they're the same person and eager to play in this every day. Because there's no atmosphere, as you know, no fans there. There's just a couple of people. You're playing 7 innings or 9 innings, and these games that could really drag. Yet you do it, and you do it to be what? A big leaguer.
Yeah.
So just kind of take us to that mindset. Granted, you're young doing it, but not everyone could go 3-6 months or whatever playing in those conditions and say, man, I love baseball.
Yeah. It was hard. It was plenty of times where we'd have conversations about, man, this don't even feel like baseball. This is not what we thought it was gonna be. But it's like, it's part of the process. It's still baseball, but it's like the lifestyle. It was like, when do we get to see the fans? Like, this is high school. We had more fans in high school than this. But it was like, okay, this is an introduction. This is an introduction to baseball. We're getting used to the velo. We're getting used to these umpires. We're getting used to how a minor leaguer lives their life. And the thing that I'm starting to realize, it gets better as you move up. So for everybody who's watching this, have faith and just keep playing baseball, because it gets better. It always does.
I'm glad that I could ask you that question, because I see it, because, I don't have to be out there every day. And I was covering the big club, but let's say they're on the road. I wasn't doing that leg of the trip. So I'd go up to Jupiter and I'd sit there, and I noticed, because your class wasn't the first one. I've been doing that for years. I go up and you'd say, these are the baseball players. Who's going to show up and play in this heat? And everyone's just melting out there. And like you say, there's no energy. But I'm going to read a quote, because we're going to wrap this up in a minute. when I pulled up the story when I talked to you back in 18 on the breakthrough, and I asked you about, what do you give the message to younger kids who think baseball is boring? And this is to paraphrase. It was longer, but you said, I say, if you think baseball is boring, you're not watching the right parts. That was your quote, or part of a longer quote. But speak to that, because you kind of already have that. This sport, as baseball tries to attract a younger audience, one of the reasons I'm still doing this, Nasim, in semi-retirement, is to spread what knowledge and institutional knowledge I have with 20 years in the big leagues, of covering the big leagues. And just as you, as someone that's part of the next generation of it, what message do you have to young players and young fans?
Honestly, I say if you think the game's boring, like as I said, you're not watching the right part of the game, or maybe you don't understand the game in a way to where you think it is fun. Because it's a lot of parts of the game that's fun. It's watching people. For me, I like watching people be selective with their pitches, like that part of the game, like swinging at certain pitches, and then when they get their pitch, they use their swing, and their swing so unique. It's their very own swing. It's just like in basketball, how somebody can be wide open for a three-pointer and they have their own unique style of shooting. And defense is just at pure athleticism. You get to watch people, how they take a certain route to the ball in a certain way, or how they throw, how they just catch the ball, run to the ball. Like it's little details in baseball that you can pick up that make the game so interesting. Even with pitchers, like sequences, how they spin the ball, how they throw from different arm sides. Like it's so many parts of the game that is very interesting to watch. And you just have to pick one and pay attention and watch the game. And I believe that you'll understand and you'll see how the game is changing and how we're getting so many more athletes in the game nowadays. Like it's crazy. Everybody's bringing their own type of swag to the game. Everybody's bringing the game. Like it's just crazy. Everybody brings a whole different type of piece to the game, and I'm starting to see it too. Like it's gonna be dope. Baseball is going to be so, like, it's gonna be posted everywhere. Everybody's gonna start watching the game again. Hold me to that. Just watch.
No, I firmly believe you. And as somebody, as I'm in the more of the tail end of what I'm doing, but I'm very happy to be turning this sport over to your generation and with players like you. And that's one of the reasons I was really happy to have you be on our show today. And we really are appreciative. And David, any final questions you could get us out of there?
Again, thank you so much for your time and for being so open and honest. Just a fun one before we get out of here. You're really good engaging with fans. I mean, giving fans, memorabilia and like bats and things like that. What's maybe the weirdest, either the weirdest interaction you've had with a fan or the weirdest thing maybe a fan has asked you to sign?
Oh. I don't think I've had any weird interactions yet.
No?
I don't think I've had any weird interactions yet. Maybe I just don't come off as a guy where they would ask a question like that too. I don't think I've had any weird interactions.
So Jen, the traditional autograph stuff like cards and balls and things like that?
Yeah, I think the weirdest thing is like when I sign somebody's cards and then I stop signing and then they ask me to sign like one more again. I'll be like, bruh. Like I think that's the weirdest thing, but
well, again, thank you so much for your time, and we're obviously keeping a close eye on you, and we're rooting for you and how you're moving through the system. And it's a lot of fun to watch you, play defense and to be a part of this system. So we definitely appreciate your time and your efforts. Again, this is the Marlins Prospects Pod. For Joe, my name is David. Thank you for watching, everybody.